For Telesur, I'm Cody Weddle in Caracas, Venezuela. Scottish leader Alex Salmond will step down as Scotland's first minister after his push for independence failed at the polls Thursday. His movement served as inspiration to other pro-independence movements, particularly to the Spanish region of Catalonia, where many are now anxiously awaiting their own referendum set for November 9th.
I spoke to the Prime Minister today, and although he reiterated his intention to proceed as he has now outlined, he would not commit to a second reading vote by the 27th of March on a new Scotland bill. That was a clear promise laid out by Gordon Brown during the campaign. The Prime Minister says such a vote would be meaningless. I suspect he can't guarantee the support of his party. And as we have already seen in the last hour, the common front between Labour and Tory and Labour, is starting to break. But the real point is this. The real guardians of progress are no longer politicians at Westminster or even at Holyrood, but the energised activism of tens of thousands of people who I predict will refuse to meekly go back into the political shadows.
After the Scottish independence referendum fell by a slim margin, Prime Minister David Cameron expressed relief. He promised to push for constitutional reforms that would award sweeping powers to all regions in the UK.
So now it is time for our United Kingdom to come together and to move forward. A vital part of that will be a balanced settlement, fair to people in Scotland and, importantly, to everyone in England, Wales and Northern Ireland as well.
The U.S., its allies Russia and China have all condemned the actions of the Islamic State group in Iraq and Syria. It comes as the 15 members of the United Nations Security Council strongly denounced the group's actions and called for global action. The UN body considers ISIS threatening not only for the Middle East. U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry says all countries should join the campaign against ISIS.
Fact is, there is a role for nearly every country in the world to play, including Iran, whose foreign minister is here with us today.
The latest round of peace talks with representatives of the U.S.-backed Ukrainian government and leaders of the country's rebels began on Friday. It did not stop forces from again violating the 2-week-old ceasefire. Fresh clashes were reported today in eastern Ukraine, resulting in the deaths of at least 7 people and injuring of 8. Witnesses in the Donetsk region blamed government forces for violating the ceasefire by shelling various targets, including civilians. Immediately after the shelling, shots rang out in the city. The government of Sierra Leone has begun a 3-day nationwide lockdown in order to contain the Ebola outbreak. Health officials will go door to door to identify cases and educate people on what they can do to protect themselves. The plans have been met with criticism by Doctors Without Borders. They say that forced quarantines only spread further fear and unrest rather than stem the virus.
My government has declared a 3-day stay-at-home, host-to-host Ebola talk campaign to get this message to every house and family in the country. Everybody in every house, in every community, in this country is very important in our fight against Ebola.
There are reports in Palestine of Israeli forces raiding homes, businesses, and public areas. It comes as the latest allegation of an Israeli violation of the agreed-upon ceasefire between Israel and Palestine. Witnesses say Israeli troops have seemingly arbitrarily made arrests and taken those detained to unknown interrogation centers. With more on these claims, here's our Gaza correspondent Noor Harazin.
All day in Gaza there has been no airstrikes or bombardment reported, but there was only one violation reported, which is the Israeli Navy detaining 4 Palestinian fishermen off the coast of Beit Lahia, northern Gaza Strip. The Israeli side said that the fishermen were fishing they crossed, the 6 miles limit. However, the fishermen committee, the Palestinian fishermen committee in Gaza said that the fishermen were fishing inside the 6 nautical miles limit. At the same time, Hamas and Fatah continue the fights and the accusations about taking responsibility of the reconstruction of Gaza and the problems that is happening in Gaza after the war.
Minister of Popular Power for the Interior, Miguel Rodriguez Torres, released additional footage implicating Gomez Saleh and Gabriel Valles, among others, in the destabilization plans carried out against the government earlier this year. The latest videos disclose the names of other participants involved in the violence that claimed the lives of over 40 people. Among those mentioned are Josman David Paredes. Previously released videos show Gomez and Saleh and Valles speaking about their plans to overthrow the government. The latest footage shows Paredes participating in the violence in Táchira following Saleh's instructions, including the burning down of 2 nightclubs, a public notary, and facilities at a local university. As the Colombian peace process continues, violence and crime remain rampant in the country and a parallel challenge for the government. Activists have often faced threats and even been murdered by criminal organizations. As our correspondent Charles Parkinson reports, these cases appear to be on the rise.
Andrea Baca was at home with friends September 28, 2013, when 2 men arrived and gunned down her husband in front of her. Earlier that day, Oscar Javier Molina had been threatened by men while he carried out his job as an outreach worker with vulnerable people in a drug-infested sector of Bogotá, popularly known as the Bronx. Molina was murdered for attempting to save people from the same drug addiction he escaped more than a decade earlier. His job earned him powerful enemies among the armed groups that control drug trafficking in Bogotá. His killers have never been captured. According to human rights defender Diego Martinez, the ongoing activity of such groups is a key challenge the government must face once peace negotiations with the Revolutionary Armed Forces of Colombia conclude. For Andrea Baca, as long as such groups persist, it is too early to talk of peace in Colombia, even in the event of an agreement being signed in Havana. So while great strides are being made in the peace talks in Cuba, the government still has a huge job ahead of it to tackle violence in the country. The message here is not intended to detract from Colombia's peace process, but to highlight it as a critical first step towards overcoming a legacy of violence that stretches beyond the parameters of the talks. This is Charles Parkinson, Telesur in Bogotá, Colombia.
And thanks to Charles, Mexican President Enrique Peña Nieto participated in a ceremony marking the 29th anniversary of the worst earthquake to hit the country. The powerful earthquake registered 8.1 on the Richter scale, followed by dozens of aftershocks, including one 7.5 magnitude the following day. It caused 412 buildings to collapse, while 3,124 were severely damaged. Losses totaled at least $4 billion. According to NGOs and experts, about 40,000 people died in the quake. Government officials claimed the death toll was only 10,000. Today, the Johannesburg Theatre will host the opening night of a unique South African production. The venue will hold a reimagined version of the ballet The Nutcracker, with choreography signed by Adele Bank. While the renowned version is set up during the winter, this original creation tells the story of the Nutcracker in the summer season and in a South African setting. Very cool. More on those stories and others at our website, telesurtv.net/English. For Telesur English, I'm Cody Weddle. Have a great weekend.